Hi, I'm Susan Carley, and welcome to You're Not Alone, Surviving Your Child's Disability. Music, its capacity to provide enjoyment, comfort, and motivation is undeniable. For children and adults with disabilities, music can also provide developmental and educational attributes that cannot be duplicated elsewhere. Here to discuss music therapy and how it can help your child is Meredith Peasy, Executive Director at Roman Music Therapy Services. Hi, Meredith.
Hi.
How are you?
Hi, Susan. I'm great. Thank you.
Good. Music plays a special part in all our lives. So why use music as therapy?
So music has been used historically as therapy and therapeutically for ages. There's many stories going back in history about how music is used. Music therapy as a profession began after World War II with the veterans returning from war, and actually started in Veterans Administration hospitals. That's where it really began as a profession in the United States. And since then it's evolved to include many disciplines of practice, working with young children, children and adults with disabilities, older adults in medical settings, hospitals, lots of different environments that we can use music now therapeutically. But we can use music because we know that making music can transform lives, and it really has a positive impact for people.
That's excellent. Now, how can you already covered it, but how can you benefit from music therapy?
So there are so many different areas in which music can address specific goals. Music therapists use music to address any particular non-musical goal that someone is working towards in their life. So it can be social emotional, it can be speech and language.
You basically kind of cater to whatever their disability
Exactly.
is.
We take music and use that as the tool to reach whatever goals that individual has. So we would have specific goals and objectives that we work on with our clients, and it's our responsibility to design music activities and experiences that are going to help address those goals.
How often, when you do music therapy, how often do you recommend them attending something, or how many sessions a week, or does it vary?
Again, that's very individualized. So we have some students that we see through the public schools 2 or 3 times a week. Then there are many students we would see once a week, or groups that we'll see once a week. We have families that come to our center for music therapy 1 time a week most often, but we'll also do every other week on occasion. That also can work well.
Yeah. Which sort of techniques do you use or incorporate in a typical music session with a person with a disability?
So we can use a wide range of active music making as well as active music listening. So we might be listening to music and talking about how that music makes us feel, or emotions or memories that we might have. We might use songwriting to put some thoughts down on paper and put our ideas into words, some of our experiences. And so we can use that as a mode for self-expression. We do a lot of instrument playing, both in structured experiences and also improvised along. So there's lots of different ways that we use the guitar, we use the drums, we use maracas to engage people in active music making, as well as really actively listening to music.
That's cool. Now, why is music therapy effective in development of speech and communication?
So with language and communication socially and with our verbal skills, music really goes through a different brain system, a different pathway within our brain. So when you speak to somebody and I say, "Hi, Susan," it goes through a different pathway in your brain than if I say, "Hey, Susan," and your brain just responds very differently. What we know about neuroscience is our brains respond differently. So when we're working towards communication goals, speech and language, or the social communication piece, we can use music as a kind of another route through the brain to get to that connection and to get to spoken language as well as nonverbal communication. But the brain really does perceive music differently and is able to process it differently. So for many individuals,
basically, after you like, for instance, you learn a tune, or something, then it can translate into using the tune in the other part of your brain for speech.
So it can cue a lot of things. It can cue the language, the words that are used, because now this melody that your brain has learned, your body has learned, is now connected to language. You can also take that and cue an activity. So preschool teachers use this all the time. You know, it's time to wash our hands, or, you know, this is the way we wash our hands, wash our hands, wash our hands. Well, we know it's interesting in a lot of teachers don't necessarily know this, and parents probably not either. When you're teaching a song and you connect it with certain words, so this is the way we wash our hands, for example,
Right.
don't take that same melody and change the words all the time, because you're not going to be able to cue something different. You're still cueing washing your hands. So for example,
see.
if you want to say it's time to put our coats on, don't sing this is the way to put our coats on, because the brain is thinking I have to wash my hands. So you want to make sure you're changing and using different melodies with different
I
lyrics,
see.
different words to go with it.
That's interesting. Now, how important is repetition to a child with a disability?
Such a great question. And repetition is not only important to children with disabilities, but repetition in music is important for everybody. You know, we all associate with the time and space of music and the repetition in all of the familiar popular
Right.
songs we listen to.
Has choruses that they go over.
Exactly, and
over
that's how we
over.
learn and that's how we process. So
Yeah.
for children with disabilities, the frequency of repetition is incredibly important because it gives them a chance to really learn and master skills so that after that 5th time, 6th time, maybe 17th time of singing the same song, they get it and they own it, and they've been able to participate so fully that they really feel master of that part of music.
And that's a very important
It's
thing.
incredibly
is to feel
important.
like
Yeah.
they've accomplished something.
Exactly, and as music therapists, every time we repeat a song, and we repeat songs a lot, but every time we repeat the song, we're looking for a different response. So it might not be obvious to everyone who's observing, but the first time I might be looking for a visual response. I'm looking for them to look at me. The second time I might wait a little longer and wait for a vocalization, and I might wait for them to respond with their voice and make some sort of a sound. The third time I might wait for a more clear sound. You know, there's lots of ways that we can keep increasing the expectations so that they are continuing to grow and learn through frequent repetitions of music.
Oh, I think autistic individuals would fit really well into that type of music therapy.
Sure, individuals with autism and many other forms of disability. You know, there are many different ways that we can use music to provide a safe and secure environment, to welcome them and all of their ability and all of their skills and all of their strengths to contribute what they can, because everyone can make music.
Yeah.
Everyone can make music.
Yeah.
I'd love to share a song with you actually on the idea of repetition if I could.
I'd love to hear one.
So this is a song that we do frequently with our groups of children and sometimes young adults as well, depending on how the group is structured. But this is an example of repetition in music.
Okay.
Hello everybody, are you ready to make some music? Yes! Hello everybody, are you ready to sing along? Yes! Hello everybody, are you ready to make some music? Yes! Hello everybody, are you ready to sing along? Yes! So we've had many repetitions there where we
Very
can
much
practice
with the
saying
rep.
yes. And then the
Yeah.
song changes and we sing, oh, we sing ah, 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 ah. Again, a lot of repetition, but many opportunities to succeed. Ah, 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 ah. And then we're going to engage everybody with their motor skills, and we're going to ask them physically to get engaged. So we're going to clap. Ready? Everybody, can you clap, clap, clap your hands? Everybody, can you clap, clap, clap? You can clap,
okay.
clap. Clap, 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 clap your hands.
Not doing it in
So
beat,
that's okay. That's all right. If we had a group here, you would just lock right in. So we've done a lot of things with that song. We've asked a question, waited for a response and answer, and people can sign yes, or they can nod their head yes, they can verbalize yes. All of those things are great responses to the question.
Right.
And we work on vocal skills. So we sing ah, 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 and with other groups we'll say, okay, we sang ah, now what should we sing? Let's sing mo, mo, mo. Let's sing ooh, ooh, ooh. And we come up with lots of different
Right.
vocal expressions that we can use.
that's
And with the movements, we're clapping our hands, we're patting our knees, we're stamping our feet, and we'll go through that song a number of times, but every time we're working on different skills. But the brain is engaged and the body is engaged. It's familiar music, so they're comfortable to keep going.
Yeah.
Does that give a good example? We have
That's
a
excellent.
parent who has been bringing her daughter to services at our center for many years, and she calls us one-stop shopping. Because we work on everything all at the same time. We're working on the social skills, we're working on communication, we're working on motor
Great.
skills, all in
And that
in
all
songs.
is so important, especially with people with disabilities.
And the
It's just-
integration of all of those things. It's
Right.
not like this is one task and we're focusing on this particular repetition of this practice skill, and then we're going to move to this practice skill. We're actually addressing all of it at the same time in a way that engages
Right.
their whole body.
Now, how do you deal with people who have physical disabilities? Is that more of a challenge?
No, it's more exciting for us actually,
Oh,
because
really?
there's so many ways that people can play and make music. And so for us, the challenge is how do we adapt the instruments? How do we set up the environment? We have children that are at home for their homeschooling program. They're not able to go to school because of medical conditions or issues, and we can bring the instruments to them. And so if a child is laying in their bed at home, we might be very careful to put the tambourine right underneath their arm. We might be able to put a drum over their stomach where they can feel the vibrations. The guitar is a great example of vibration, and you can put the hand or the feet. We have kids that love to put their feet on the guitar.
Oh,
And we'll
really?
play the guitar as they're touching with their foot. And we'll even, with some children, if they're touching the guitar, we're playing. And when they pull their foot off, we're going to stop and wait until they initiate playing again by touching the guitar. So there's lots of ways that we can interact in music, regardless of the disability or level of physical ability that any individual might have.
Wow. I think music therapy is such a great idea. Anyway.
I do too.
Yes, well, that makes sense. Now, switching to schools.
Yes.
What criteria do you need in order to have you be included in like an IEP?
So music therapy is a related service, as is speech and language, occupational therapy, physical therapy. Within IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, music therapy is also included as a related service.
Oh, that's
So
great.
any parent or any IEP team member, a parent, a teacher, any other related service professional, could request a music therapy assessment. And so the parent, just as you go through a process of reevaluation or, well, maybe we need to add another service, you would request an evaluation for music therapy. The assessment that we do at Roman Music Therapy Services is we do, it's called a SEMTAP, the Special
Okay.
Education Music Therapy Assessment Process. And what we do is we look at the IEP and how the student is currently performing on all of those IEP goals.
Right.
We would target a few goals and we'd look at how they're doing without any music. So we would observe them in speech, or we would observe them in their classroom setting, in their occupational therapy setting. And then we would take them out of the classroom and use music strategies and music therapy interventions to approach the same goals and see if there's a significant difference in their response. And I have done assessments that are unbelievable when you're sitting in a classroom and you see a child who's really struggling with communication tasks or with math tasks, reading tasks, any of those things, and really having a hard time focusing on the content information. But then when we pull them out and we provide a music structure, their brain just clicks. It just understands what's going on. It makes more sense to them, and they're more apt to make progress.
So you can take music, like you can put math to music? Is that how
Sure.
you do it? You
Sure.
just put, whatever they're
Well, I
struggling
worked with
to
a
music?
young girl who had Williams syndrome, and the transition, I worked with her from the time in elementary school when she moved up to middle school. And that transition's a big deal for students. She went to middle school and had a very hard time remembering her locker combination,
Oh my.
which is kind of a basic skill
Yeah.
in middle school. And we wrote a song that had her locker combination in it, so she went to school and she'd sing the song at her locker and she could facilitate getting in and out of her locker on her own. But it was the
Wow.
musical cue that allowed her to access a basic thing like her school locker, and it was remembering those numbers and that process that
So
really
she
was helpful
probably
to her.
just sang it in her head.
It becomes a musical cue, exactly.
just-
It's like any popular song lyrics that get stuck in your head. We
Yeah.
just write songs that we want to get stuck in your head that allow you to reach your goals.
Great.
Yeah.
Now,
Also, if I can add, we've also done a lot of work using music to increase literacy skills. So children with dyslexia, other kids who have a hard time decoding and processing written language, using music in the background can help the brain process at a steady tempo and pace, and that can also have a great, tremendous impact on ability
that's
there.
amazing. I mean, I never thought of music as being so effective for learning and
Sure.
utilizing it for things that people can't do.
Yeah, and you think about classrooms environments and how music could be used in the background more effectively rather than turning on the radio or picking music that maybe is going to work for one student, not work for
Right,
another. How can we
right.
use music to facilitate classroom learning? There's a lot that could be done.
Yeah, fortunately, I don't think very many classes do
There are
that.
a lot of teachers who are incredibly invested and will do that.
Oh, well?
There are, yeah. We've worked with some teachers that they'll take a little bit of information and they will run with it.
Yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily mean a music therapist needs to be in the classroom every day programming the background music. No, but to make teachers more aware of how it could be useful, how headphones can be useful for some students. You know, at certain times of day or
Right.
within academic learning periods, to have headphones to be able to focus and isolate on their work, it gives them the tool that they need to be successful.
Right. Speaking of schools, how is music therapy reimbursable with insurance, or is that sort of an iffy thing right now?
So in many states, music therapy is reimbursed through health insurance. In Massachusetts, I personally have not had much luck, and I'm not sure of any other music therapists that are billing as a music therapist getting reimbursed. However, there are many other ways that we can get third-party reimbursement for music therapy. So it may be through early intervention services in Massachusetts. Families can access music therapy through pediatric palliative care and family support services through the Department of Developmental Services. And then also the adults with disabilities who participate in a participant-directed programming, they also can utilize music therapy services and have those services covered through the state.
Right.
So there are options.
Oh, well, that's good, because I know there's a lot of people out there that just can't afford anything extra.
Sure,
You know,
absolutely. And there's
and-
grants too that will fund music therapy. We just this week I was on the phone with an organization that is providing money to a public school district to provide music therapy to their classroom. So it does happen, and there's lots of ways to make those connections and find funding
Thank
for
goodness.
it. Yeah, exactly.
Speaking of older children, do you treat them any different than the younger generation? I mean, you know, are there things that you would work on differently?
So one of the things that we, as music therapists, and I think as professionals who work with individuals with disabilities at any age, are always conscious of age-appropriate material. And so as a music therapist, we're not going to probably be using early childhood songs
Right.
with young adults or older adults who really
Right.
have lots of other interests possibly. And sometimes we don't learn to be exposed to different music. Sometimes we are stuck listening to the music that we liked when we were younger.
Right.
But as a music therapist, we're going to want to try to broaden our horizons of music listening and songs that we enjoy and the lyrics that we know, because we definitely want to take into consideration just a social age appropriateness for
Right.
individuals and to help them grow into adulthood
Yeah.
as well, both musically and their interests and
I
in
mean,
their social
even
connections.
some of them still don't have the regular skills, you know, living skills and and certainly work-oriented, you know, information and things of that
But
nature.
if you think about as young adults, you know, when we transition into the adulthood, which we are trying really hard to do better in our education system and within families to help youth and families transition, it's very difficult. Music can play a part in that and helping make social connections and connecting people. There are some great opportunities for live music making out there for everybody in the community. Things like karaoke, drum circles, open mic nights. You know, those
Yeah.
are great ways for adults of all ability levels to get together
Right.
and enjoy music.
Yeah, you never think about that, but karaoke is
Karaoke
part of
is
that.
fantastic, and I think I am more and more convinced that that is a connector in our society that already exists that we don't tap into enough within our networks.
Yeah. Now, how can parents of children with disabilities create an environment at home where they could use parts of music therapy or music in
Yeah,
general?
definitely. It's a great question. I think parents can, just to be aware, music therapists often do come to the home. So you
Oh,
could have a
okay.
music therapist come and provide services in your home. That would be one way. There's lots of ways that parents can incorporate music at home. And a couple of things to keep in mind. It's really good to have good quality sounding instruments in your home. Sometimes the instruments you buy in the toy store
Right,
really
that-
don't sound very
yeah,
good. And
I
I'm a
know
parent
this.
too, so I know that you get that instrument and it sounds awful and you're tired, it's been a long day, so you take that instrument away and you put it on top of the refrigerator.
Yeah.
Well, there it doesn't do any good.
Right.
So we want good quality sounding instruments, because a good sounding drum, you're gonna wanna hear played, and it will
Right.
be welcome out in the home. So
Right.
you wanna get good quality instruments and have them out and available, because there is a lot of research with young children that shows if there are good quality instruments available, children will participate in longer extended periods of play
Oh.
and more musical play. And
Okay.
that can help, just we talk about attention span and increasing children's attention span, engaging them in leisure activities for longer periods of time, music can help do that. But you want good quality sounding instruments. You also want to have good quality recorded music at home, because sometimes we pick up that CD that says, this is great for kids, this will make your baby smarter. And really there's not much behind those.
No.
But what you want to look for is really good quality recording. So live, real instruments, not computer instruments, real instruments. You want to hear what a real piano sounds like, a real violin, a real guitar, and vocal instruments, things like that. And the other thing that I want to suggest to parents is to be willing to make music yourself. Because I think sometimes as adults we get into our adult-focused lives and our busyness, and we forget that we also can be music makers. So as a parent, if you just sing to your child, just sing a song, sing their name and see how they respond. Sing a direction.
I unfortunately do that a lot.
Oh, good.
If anybody was listening, it's like, what?
But that's a wonderful thing to do, is just to enjoy making music yourself.
Yeah. Did you want to give us another example?
Sure, I would love to. So let me actually do a drum song just to give you an example. This is one that we were talking about communication skills before.
Right.
And something that I've done a lot with groups is to sing, I ask a question and you give an... Would you play this for me, Susan? You're going to say answer.
Answer.
I ask a question and then you give an
answer.
I ask a question and you give an
answer.
I ask a question and then you give an
answer.
So now I'll start with singing some questions, and I might sing, what is your name?
Do I answer it?
Sure, please.
Susan Colley.
Nice. So we can engage people in a conversation, practicing some of the skills we're already working on. We can sing, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? Where do you like to go after school? And you can have students within a group taking turns asking questions of their peers, which makes it really nice too. So I'd have a student then, after we've practiced this for weeks, you know, we've been doing this song for a long time, it's a familiar song, I might give the drum to you and say, Susan, go ask a friend a question. What are you going to ask them? And give more opportunity for spontaneous questions, for self-directed movement in the circle, all of those different things. But it's just the drum. It's the great connector. I can share this drum around the circle.
Great
and we can all
idea.
work together. Yeah, another great drum song is I play a little and you play a little. And I play a little and you play a little. And we can do a little jig all around the circle, taking turns, and I can pass it this way and that way all around the room. Everybody can take a turn, and then I can pass it to you and say, Susan, you walk the drum around the circle. It's your turn. So we're really working on facilitating some great social skills and independent skills.
Yeah, and I know that social skills are really needed.
They are.
Especially in the growing population of autism.
Most definitely.
Yeah.
And the drum gives a nice focal point, but also connects you to other people. It doesn't further isolate you.
Right.
You know, when we use the drum, when we use it as a tool to connect with other people, we really can use it to build new connections.
Yeah. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah. We're actually going to be starting some more drum circles for adults.
Are you really?
I think, yeah, we again, I think as a culture, we've stopped making music.
Yeah.
We've started consuming it. We download a song on our iPod, we put in our earbuds and we listen, and we don't really engage as music makers enough.
Well, I don't think we engage in anything anymore, you know, between communication and iPods and iPads. And,
well, that's why we're going to start doing drum circles, and hopefully karaoke someday too, that we'll host, and we'll just open up our doors to say, come on in and let's make music together.
Oh, that's great. Now, how do you know when a therapist is, or a music therapist is being successful, let's put it that way? I mean, how, you know, can the parent be in the room at the time that you do, you know?
Yeah, in our practice, yes. I mean, certainly parents can be included. We want parents to know exactly what's happening, and we want parents to be able to carry it over and reinforce it after our session. You know, later in the week to refer back to the song, remember this when it happened in music. So we actually really appreciate when the parents can participate and be part of the session. But there's also a lot of other things. When I just talked to a dad yesterday in our center. His son has been coming for services, and I just said, how are things going? How's everything been? And he said, you know, this has been incredible for our son. He's in the car, he's singing now with the music, he's asking for songs, he's asking us to turn the volume up, and he's a child that doesn't have a lot of spontaneous language.
Wow.
He said we don't generally hear a lot of requests from him.
Right.
And he's asking for the music, he's singing along, you know, and that for him was a really big change. And I asked, have you been seeing increased spontaneous language outside of hearing the music sung? And he said, yeah, definitely. So they're seeing tremendous increases in his language and his communication with his family members. And that's so important.
And that's very important. I wish I could. I'm going to try it out on my kids.
Okay, great. Absolutely.
See if I get anywhere with them.
And part of it is figuring out what music your kids are going to respond to. Just like all of us, we're not all attracted to the same kind of music. We don't all get excited by the same artists. So you want to try out lots of different styles of music, different genres of music. Try bluegrass, try jazz, try country. Even if you don't like country necessarily, see what your children really enjoy listening to.
Right, that's important.
Yeah.
Now, how do we access music therapists? Are there a lot of therapists in Massachusetts, or how do we go about finding one?
Sure, there are a number of music therapists in Massachusetts and practicing again from birth through end of life care. So you'll find some music therapists that work with children with disabilities and some that don't. But there are a number of ways you can reach out to music therapists. You can certainly call our office at Roman Music Therapy Services. We'd be happy to talk with you about the process. There's also a website called newenglandmusictherapy.org. Which lists music therapists across New England through our professional organization that's the American Music Therapy Association. You can also learn more about music therapy in general at our professional organization's website. That's musictherapy.org. And there's also the certification board for music therapists, because all professional music therapists are credentialed by the certification board. So we have degrees in music therapy, then we do an additional 900 hours of a clinical internship. And with that, then we sit for our board exam. So once we've passed our board exam, then we have the credentials MT-BC, MT-BC. So that's what you should look for when you're looking for a music therapist. You want them to be a credentialed music therapist that has gone through all the training, has continuing ed opportunities, and is really focused on providing great clinical music therapy services.
That's great. Would you like to give us one more song before?
One more song? I would love to. Can I sing a goodbye song?
Sure.
All right. We'll close out our time together. So this is a song, one of the greatest compliments I received was, it's kind of a spin-off on a familiar song. You might recognize it. It sounds a little bit like Bye Bye Miss American Pie.
Oh, yeah.
And one day, I guess one of our families was driving in the car, and the older brother said to Mom, why is this guy singing Meredith's song? So this is my version of his song. Bye bye, our music time is done. Bye bye, our music time is done, yeah. Bye bye, our music time is done. We've had a really great time. We've had a really great time. So we'll take our time slowing down our session, saying goodbye to everybody. We can sing goodbye to individuals by their name, thank them for making music with us today. And then sometimes we like to pick it up and have some fun with it too. Bye bye, our music time is done. See you later, alligators. It sure was fun. Oh, bye bye, our music time is done. We've had a really great time. We've had a really great time. But now we're done.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Just a way to close out our session, say goodbye, to thank all of the individuals for joining us and making music together.
Well, Meredith, I've enjoyed your presence today.
Thank you.
And maybe someday you can come back on our show again.
I would love that. Thank you so much, Susan.
You're
I appreciate
welcome. Music therapy can be very beneficial to any child or adult with a disability. I hope you explore its possibilities. See you next time on You're Not Alone, Surviving Your Child's Disability.